Welcome to the Princeton Review's Reading Your PSAT Score Report. We're going to spend about 10 minutes going over your College Board PSAT Score Report. So if you can, why don't you pull it out and we'll get a chance to take a look at that. My name is Anthony Rusomano. I am a Princeton Review expert and have been teaching the SAT and PSAT over 17 years. For those of you who might have questions after, you're more than welcome to reach out to me at anthonyr@review.com is my email, or my phone number listed right here. So, taking a look at your score report. Before we do that, though, I want to paint this perspective of looking at your scores. Understand that your SAT scores or your ACT scores is just one piece of the college application puzzle. They look at so many more things, such as your GPA, the classes you take, your non-academic credentials outside the classroom. So whatever you look at and whatever your score is when you look at your report, after I explain it, don't be discouraged, or you can be happy if it's a great score, but understand it's just one piece of the whole puzzle. So what is the PSAT, or the NMSQT, as you might see? Well, it's a preliminary SAT, so it's basically a practice SAT. It's a little bit shorter, but it'll show you how standardized tests work. It's also noted for the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. So if you're a junior, it may qualify you if you score high enough to earn a scholarship. But other than that, it just puts you in a position to kind of get a sense of this high-pressure testing. And it just gives you this starting point, which will be your scores. So pull out the report. You'll see on the front page, you'll see a nice little picture, 2014 Score Report Plus, and you're going to see the score report on the back page. And that's what we're going to take a look at. The way your score report is broken up is in 4 different parts. The 4 parts are your scores, your skills, your answers, and next steps. And the 3 test sections on the PSAT are critical reading, your math, and your writing skills. So that's what we're going to do to understand your results of this score report. So here we go. Let's take a look at your scores, which will be up at the top in 3 different sections. So you've got critical reading, you have math, and you have writing skills. They're all from 20 to 80 points. So let's actually take a closer look. So here we go. You're going to see a big score in this kind of a bubble, and the range is going to be from 20 to 80. That's the maximum score is 80 on each section. So your math has up to 80, your writing has up to 80. So the total between all 3 of them will add up to as much as 240 points. What they do here is they also give you a percentile score, where you're compared to other juniors or other sophomores. So this student scored higher than 55% of juniors. So this score, as I said, this is what we're looking at. That's the biggest thing when somebody says, how did you do on your PSAT? You add all 3 of those up and you might say 150, which is a total of all 3 sections. So that's where you're going to get the score. Okay, and that's what a lot of people look at. And we'll talk about other pieces of that. But as we talk about your score, let's take a look at how we put it all in perspective. So, I'm sure you want to compare yourself to other students around the country. Well, the average junior score, so if you're a junior, in math is 47.6, in reading it's 48.6, and writing is 46.5, with a total of 142.7. The sophomore scores are a little bit lower. They're younger, maybe less mature, so as a student you just maybe don't have all the material yet, as 128.5. Okay. Now, over 1.5 million juniors and sophomores take the test every year. For those juniors, your qualifying score, and this is from 2011, you're probably going to be a little bit higher now. If you're not over 200 or at least 215, you're probably not even going to be in the range where you need to be to get it. Most students don't get it, so I wouldn't worry about it so much. But there's a part of this report that we'll take a look at that will be the selection index. So how do you translate your PSAT score to an SAT score? Well, it's really easy. All you have to do is add a 0 on at the end. So instead of 52 here, it would be 520. Instead of 51 here, it would be 510. So we're just adding zeros on, and when you total them all up, if we add a zero at the end, when you reference an SAT score, it's out of 2,400 points. So this student scored a 1560. So you're able to kind of get that translation. One thing I want to point out, though, is more students do better on the PSAT than SAT because, one, the PSAT is half the length. So the SAT is a lot longer, so you have to endure more. So if you do nothing from now until the SAT, the chances are whatever score you're looking at will be a little bit lower. It just doesn't magically students automatically do better even though they're taking more classes in school, because sometimes the classes don't translate over. Your history class has nothing to do with it. Your math class, if you're in Algebra 2 or Calculus, there is none of that on these exams, so you don't have to actually learn that in terms of taking the SAT. So that's just kind of a pointer for you. So it isn't an exact science, and there are some differences I kind of mentioned also. The SAT has harder math than the PSAT, and then there's an essay on the actual SAT where you write out an essay. There wasn't an essay on this PSAT, another reason why maybe students do better on the PSAT. So when we look at the National Merit Scholarship Corporation information, that's in right around here. Okay, so that's where that yellow bar is. And it looks something like this, where it's a little bit larger here. You're going to have a total score here. They added up all for you. And then, again, if you are a sophomore, you won't be eligible. Now, as I said, if you're probably not over 200, you're not going to be even qualified. And if you're probably not in the 215 or over, you might not even get close to getting it. So again, for most students, it's just a practice test. So I wouldn't put a lot of stock into this. If you are close as a sophomore, then great. Maybe next year you might be in the running and you might actually do some preparation to get ready for that. Again, the percentiles will compare you to the other college-bound juniors in this part of the section. Again, in terms of this scholarship awarded to the top percent of the country, okay, well, I'm in California, so I actually put the California magic numbers around 221 to be a finalist. So it's very high up there. Some states have a high number, some states maybe not as high, but it's still in that upper 215, 220 range typically. So now your skills section. This is the part where it's in the middle of your report. So as we take a closer look to it, this is what it looks like. What it does, it helps you understand a little bit more about the particular areas of the report. So, for example, oh, how do we do in number and operations or algebra? Oh, I got 5 of 5 correct. Or my geometry wasn't as good as my algebra. So it actually gives you some categories where you might need some improvement and categories where you're doing really well. So, for example, this student in words and phrases, 1 of 5 correct, not very good. Grammar, 3 of 12. But you know what? In the math, they were stronger in the math. Obviously, look at their 72. But it actually points to specific categories and what your skills are. If you go to thecollegeboard.com/quickstart, you can actually get some review suggestions about it. And they also give you your online access code to kind of log into it and take a look at it. So again, these skills are stuff you're going to see on the SAT, so it's kind of giving you a skills assessment right here. So it's really great. Again, this report, a lot of students don't use it. They throw it away after they get it. Well, what I would suggest is you actually go back online, you pull out your booklet, you look at some questions and see what you're getting right and wrong. It's going to help you prepare better. Specifically, this student with a 34 in writing on this particular report, they needed a lot of work here, so I would be focusing on all these questions here. This part now down at the bottom is your answers. This allows you actually to go back and find out what you got right, wrong, and the question number or the item number here. So let's take a little closer look at it. So here's what it looks. It has the question number all the way down here, the correct answers. So again, you can go back to every single question and see all the correct answers. And here's what you put. So if you have a check mark, you got it correct. And then the difficulty level will tell you if it's an easy, medium, and a hard question. And you might see some trends in that. All right, moving on here is in this section you'll see the student-produced response in the math section. These are what we call the grid-ins, where you actually it's not multiple choice and you put an answer in. So you'll actually see numbers in those sections. And then finally, down at the way bottom are next steps. And in the next steps here, you have an opportunity to take a look. Again, go to thecollegeboard.com/quickstart, and it will give you some more information about what steps you can take next in terms of following up. There's also even a personality test that might help you find some majors. It gives you some questions of the day for the practice for sat.org/practice. So those are some things you can also search for colleges. On the flip side, with Princeton Review, you can also search for colleges. We have a great search function where you can filter by your test scores, by your GPA, some other preferences. You can also get an SAT study plan. So I'd highly recommend you go to both of these websites, princeton.com and collegeboard.com, to take advantage of some next steps that you can. So with that said, this is kind of what it looks like on our website to kind of get a filter down. Here's all the different filters you can use. And it's free. So you just log in and you can actually save some of your searches when you create your own username. And it's a fantastic tool that you can use. So finally, as my spiel ends right here, is what I would suggest is you take your scores that you got from your test and now you start to put them in perspective here. This is where you have the opportunity to say, I got a 1850 here, and maybe here's a school that might fit me very well. Or I want to go to school, oh look, I want to go to Cornell, and it's 2150. Well, I'm a few hundred points away. And this is going to help determine what preparation needs that you might need. If you're far from your goal, again, this is your starting point. So you have a starting point, let's say it's 1800, and maybe your ending point needs to be 2100. You're 300 points from your goal. You're probably going to need some type of formal preparation. And that's how you want to use these scores, as a starting point. Now, if you do nothing, that 1800 will probably stay at 1800 or probably go down to about 1750. But if you actually do some preparation, there's no reason why you can't get to 1900 or 2000 or 2100. So what I would suggest, again, you can go to princeton.com and you can find a lot of these schools and what their test scores are and be able to take a look at that. So I really thank you for your time, and I appreciate it. And if you have additional follow-up questions, again, you can reach out to me at anthonyr@review.com, or you can give me a call. Thank you and have a great day.